Appreciate your remembrance.
I had a note also. Oh, it's good. Okay, good morning. Here in person, we have Devon and Damianti, Davy, Valerie, and Davy Dasi, and Bhakti and Valerie, and myself, Bhakti Devon. And I see online we have Anasuya, Bhakti Oasis, Charlene, and Anandini Davy Dasi. Welcome. We're here at Krishna's Alachua Forest Temple Sanctuary. Hosted Gajendra Das, hosted by Bhakti and Valerie this morning. It's Saturday, July 13th, 2024. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 I have notes. I keep my brain over here outside of my body. So today let's study Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 15. And Valerie's written it for us here above me and for you online if you have a copy. You can go there. Chapter 15, text 15. Oh, I'm not even there. And we can read the Sanskrit words responsively. Sarvasya
Sarvasya
cha
cha
aham ridi
vidi
sanivista
sanivista
mata
mata
smriti
smritir
janam
yanam
apohanam cha
pohanam cha
vedai
vedai
cha sarvai
sarve
aham
aham
eva vedya
vedya
vedanta krit vedavit
vedavit
eva
eva
cha
cha
aham.
aham.
Sarvasya chaham ridi sanisvato
Sarvasya vidi sanivisto
mata smitir janam apohanam cha
matasmitir janam apohanam cha
vedaischa sarver aham eva vedyo
vedeshta saveraham eva vedyo
vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham
vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham
sarvasya chaham ridi sanisvito
sarvasya vidi sanivisto
mata smitir janam apohanam cha
matasmitir janam apohanam cha
vedaischa saver aham eva vedyo
vedeshta saveraham eva vedyo
vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham
vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham
sarvasya chaham ridi sannivisto
sarvasya vidi sanivisto
Mata Smritir Janam Apohanam Cha
Matasmitir Apohanam Cha
Vedaischa Sarver Aham Eva Vedyo
Vedeshta Saveraham Eva Vedyo
Vedanta Creed Veda Videva Chaham.
Vedanta Krit Veda Vid Eva Chaham
Please recite.
Sarvasya Chaham Ridi Sani Visto
Sarvasyaham Ridi Sani Visto
Matasmitir Apohanam Cha
Nam Apohanam Cha
Vedeshta Saveraham Eva Vedyo
Vedaischa Saveraham Eva Vidyo
Vedanta Krit Veda Vid Eva Chaham
Vedanta Krid Veda Videva Chaham Sarvasya Chaham Ridi Sani Visto
Matasmitir Apohanam Cha Vedeshta Saveraham Eva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Veda Vid Eva Chaham
Sarvasya Chaham Ridi Sani Vishto
Sarvasya Chaham Ridi Sani Visto
Matasmitir Jana
Matasmitir
Apohanam Cha
Apohanam Cha
Vedeshcha Savir Aham Eva Vedyo
Vedeshta Saveraham Eva Vedyo
Vedanta Kriveda Chaham
Vedanta Krit Veda Vid Eva Chaham
Good morning, Prabhupada. We're studying Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 15. Would anyone online like to recite the verse?
Hare Krishna. Sarvasya Chahamide Tani Vishto
Sarvasya Chaham Ridi Sani Visto
Matasmirtir Jnanam Apohanam Cha
Matasmitir Apohanam Cha
Vedascha Saveraham Eva Vedyo
Vedeshta Saveraham Eva Vedyo
Vedanta Kriveda Videva Chaham
Vedanta Krit Veda Vid Eva Chaham
And go to the word for word translation. Sarvasya,
Sarvasya
of all living beings,
of all living beings
Cha,
Cha
and Aham,
Aham
I,
I
Ridi,
Ridi
in the heart,
in the heart
Sanivista,
Visto
being situated,
being situated
Mata,
Da
from me,
from me
Smriti,
Smriti
remembrance,
remembrance
Gyanam,
and
knowledge, Apohanam, Cha, and forgetfulness,
forgetfulness
Vedai, by the Vedas,
by the Vedas
Cha,
Cha
also,
also
Save,
Saver
all,
all
Aham,
Aham
I am, Eva,
Eva
certainly,
certainly
Vedya,
Vedya
knowable,
Knowable
Vedanta Krit,
Vedanta Krit
the compiler of Vedanta,
the compiler of Vedanta
Vedavit,
Veda
the knower of the Vedas,
the knower of the Vedas
Eva,
Eva
certainly, Cha, and Aham, I. Translation, I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord is situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart, and it is from him that all activities are initiated. The living entity forgets everything of his past life, but he has to act according to the direction of the Supreme Lord, who is witness to all his work. Therefore, he begins his work according to his past deeds. Required knowledge is supplied to him, and remembrance is given to him, and he forgets also about his past life. Thus, the Lord is not only all-pervading, he is also localized in every individual heart. He awards the different fruitative results. He is not only worshipable as the impersonal Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the localized Paramatma, but as the form of the incarnation of the Vedas as well. The Vedas give the right direction to the people so that they can properly mold their lives and come back to Godhead, back to home. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and Krishna in his incarnation as Vyasadeva is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra. The commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam gives the real understanding of Vedanta Sutra. The Supreme Lord is so full that for the deliverance of the conditioned soul, he is the supplier and digester of foodstuff. The witness of his activity, the giver of knowledge in the form of Vedas, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the teacher of the Bhagavad Gita. He is worshipable by the conditioned soul. Thus, God is all good. God is all merciful. Ananta pravista shashta ganam. The living entity forgets as soon as he quits his present body, but he begins his work again, initiated by the Supreme Lord. Although he forgets, the Lord gives him the intelligence to renew his work where he ended his last life. So not only does a living entity enjoy or suffer in this world according to the dictation from the Supreme Lord situated locally in the heart, but he receives the opportunity to understand Vedas from him. If one is serious to understand the Vedic knowledge, then Krishna gives the required intelligence. Why does he present the Vedic knowledge? Why does he present the Vedic knowledge for understanding? Because the living entity individually needs to understand Krishna. Vedic literature confirms this. Yo sa saver veder gyati. In all Vedic literature, beginning from the four Vedas, Vedanta Sutra, and the Upanishads and Puranas, the glories of the Supreme Lord are celebrated. By performing Vedic rituals, discussing the Vedic philosophy, and worshiping the Lord in devotional service, he is attained. Therefore, the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. The Vedas give us direction to understand Krishna and the process of understanding. The ultimate goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedanta Sutra confirms this in the following words. Tat tu samanvayat. One can attain perfection by understanding Vedic literature, and one can understand his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by performing the different processes. Thus, one can approach him and at the end attain the supreme goal, who is no other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, however, the purpose of the Vedas, the understanding of the Vedas, and the goal of the Vedas are clearly defined. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurayum Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadanti Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragatam Tam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadbaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishnakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavareshvare Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakampati Rubescha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavamebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita 15:15 Sarvasya Chaham Ridi Sanipisto Mata Smritir Gyanan Apoham Cha Vedaischa Saviraham Eva Vedyo Vedanta Kriya Eva Chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Now I'm going to say something. This is the scary part. And welcome others, Charlene, Rukmini, others that have joined us online. Thank you. I'm here between you and the sun behind me, so sometimes it's very dark. Choosing my words carefully. I'll read from the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. In the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, every activity, this is on pages 6 and 7, every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the absolute. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering or where they came from and where they shall go after death are proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. So there's a lot there between the purport and what I'm adding from the introduction that's supportive, I believe, and relevantly, there's well, it's in the introduction to relationships that work. I'm gonna paraphrase that there's a message there from Prabhupada, and it's two parts. One is that life begins once we understand the laws of karma. Yeah.
Spiritual life begins.
So spiritual life, real life.
Real life, that's a good way to say it.
And to remember not to be like angry with the instrument of your karma. So every time I hear that, something different for me happens, and that's sort of how I got here. And it may not make sense to anybody, but somehow it's how it went for me. I heard that again, and I thought, well, I want my spiritual life to start. So Prabhupada's saying, you need to understand the laws of karma. And so I went to sort of invited by Valerie to put together some type of a class. I was really meditating there. Like, where am I at? Where am I at in understanding the laws of karma? And I think simultaneously I was contemplating on suffering and devotees suffering, and I was asking friends, devotees, yeah, why what's happening? Why did devotees suffer? And so this sort of led me to this verse somehow, not even remembering how, super soul intervention apparently. And so we're all in an exploration together to find out why am I here now, talking about this. And here's what I'm learning. Here's the realization that I'm having from where I'm at, what I'm learning, and what's really resonating for me. In this purport, and in many other places, we're given the information that Krishna will give us the intelligence that we need. And so we have intelligence, and we have something called knowledge, and we need some intelligence, and that intelligence is given by Krishna. So there's a part here, and I have the source for it in my notes. And Prabhupada says the scientists try to explain where intelligence comes from, and they call it intuition. This is like the scientific explanation of what is intelligence. And then it goes on further. Prabhupada's explaining. Actually, I think this is. So I have some notes from a class that Prabhupada gave on this text. It was in New Mayapur in 1976, August 5th. It's the only transcribed class that Prabhupada gave on this text in Bhagavad Gita.
New Mayapur is France, just so
it's
clear.
It's actually it's being translated live with Prabhupada in the
French.
recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so I went to that, and I pulled out some notes from that transcription to enrich what we're reading here. And I'll share that. Prabhupada says, knowledge given by Paramatma from within the core of the heart is explained by the modern scientists as intuition. They do not know where from the intuition is coming, and that is coming from God. Therefore, it is stated, Mata, from me. Shmitir Gyanam Apoham Cha. A small cub, dog, it has not opened the eyes, but still, immediately after birth, it is seeking the nipples of the mother. So where from the knowledge comes? From his within, and that is from God. The other day I explained Vedas means just like this dictaphone machine is manufacturing along with one, literature is also compiled. So customers, they are given the delivery of the machine as well as the literature on how to use the machine. That is the Vedas. Therefore, Krishna says that Vedanta Krit, I am the compiler of the Vedas, because if he does not give the literature, then how will he use the machine? The manufacturer of the machine, he knows how to use it, what it is for, how to manipulate it. Everything is there. The Vedic knowledge means that we have come to this material world. So just like we have purchased this machine for some enjoyment, similarly, we are fallen down to this material world for some material pleasure. So Krishna has given, God has given a literature, instructions. You have instructions. This is good news. If you'll be guided by the literature, that your propensity to enjoy this material world will be fulfilled. At the same time, you'll again be able to go back home, back to Godhead. So now you discuss this point, that why we have come to this material world. What is the purpose? These things are mentioned in the Vedas. Vedas give you knowledge about your relationship with God. That is the first knowledge. And then according to that relationship, if you act, then you are rightly directed. And ultimately, the goal is to go back home, back to Godhead. So discuss on this point if you have any doubt, any question. So I'm just enjoying all of this anxiously because in the austerity of speech, I am endeavoring to only speak that which is aligned with the Vedas and from Srila Prabhupada. I'm nervous because most of the time I exercise my illusion of free will and choice that I can do whatever I want. And here we're focused on actually that even the subtle, you know, subtle intelligence, it's coming from Krishna. Krishna's giving it. He's giving it. And this has been sort of a real eye-opening, profound thing for me to really chew on. That even the thoughts that I'm having, they're fed by Krishna. There's not like original. I'm a part of Krishna, and it's just kind of bringing me into a more subtle appreciation of where I'm definitely still in illusion. Where grossly I might think, okay, things aren't mine. Starting from gross and moving to subtle. I'm hearing, okay, everything's Krishna's, and like where I'm in illusion that I'm lording it over. Okay, and I can start with like different gross things and get some, okay, humbling and appreciation. This isn't mine, and I want to utilize it for Krishna. But still inside, now I'm noticing how much I'm still thinking I'm taking credit for even these ideas that I have and like that. And I'll say like, okay, I know that my ideas, my original ideas, I'm still taking something that's here and something that's there, and I put them together, and there's like that. And yet whatever ability I have to do that, that's given by Krishna. It's always like one more step to the core. It's Krishna. It's Krishna. So yeah, whoever I am, that infinitesimally small fraction of a hair, and there's a measurement for the size of the soul, all the energy supplied to that, very minute decimal point, it's all provided by Krishna. And let me see if I can make this make sense. There's a metaphor analogy we use about the big ship and the tugboat. And I think the way we use it is like when the big ship's engines are on, the tugboat can't do anything, to the big ship. The tugboat can try to push, but the big ship's engines are going to take it wherever it's pointed. And then when the big ship engines are off, the tugboat can move around the big ship. And so somehow I think I went somewhere else with the analogy that I'm powered by Krishna. And so when I'm in connection with Krishna, then I'm really powerful. Like, because Krishna is really powerful. He's supreme. He's all powerful. And when I'm disconnected from Krishna, it's like, what is there? It's kind of annoying. Not even like the no-see-em. Is it? We have a bug called no-see-em in Florida. I'm just talking. Yeah. We have this bug, and it hurts you, and then you go to hit it, and it's like, where is it? It's like that. That's what we are. It's not good news necessarily, but then plugged in, connected with Krishna. So I was thinking, it's like you put the big ship engines on, and the tugboat doesn't matter. So the way I use the analogy is like, I'm trying to be the tugboat pushing the big ship, and it's like, it's pathetic. And then Krishna is like the nuclear core reactor, and I want to like plug into that. And then it's kind of like, to do that means I need a set of instructions how to do that. I need to know, like, who is Krishna, where is Krishna. And so we're reading here from the very beginning of the purport. The Supreme Lord is situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart, and it is from him that all activities are initiated. And so in this class in New Mayapur in 1976, just a little more than a year before Srila Prabhupada left his body, there's devotees asking Prabhupada, what about from past lives? And there's forgetfulness. And then there's remembrance. So it's here in the translation, in the text of Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna is speaking to Arjuna and saying, I'm seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So Krishna's giving and taking away, he's managing. He's in charge of what we remember and when we remember. He's allowing us to be in he's allowing us this free will, this choice. And this is where I'm working through it. This is where I'm working through it, because what I understand is that what Krishna wants is for us to take our free will and serve him and love him. And if we didn't have the free will, then it wouldn't be love, because love means choice. So we have this choice. And what is it? The word that we sort of maybe I should say I'm sort of casual with that choice. That's a nice way to put it. Irresponsible, you know. And so, yes. And so in every moment, we have this choice: be connected with the core, follow the instructions, be working on that, or be working on it's often called our own God project, our own God, that where I'm either putting myself in the center, or I'm putting Krishna in the center. So I'm pause there for a moment and mention that I was listening to Dear Govinda's class, and he mentioned Ganesham's class about karma. So I had notes where I realized I was writing at least 3 classes of, thought directions. And when I heard that, Ganesham went into like the seeds of karma. Well, I looked for that class and I didn't find it on YouTube. So if anybody out there could help me with that, let me know in a message, because I would like to hear it. Hopefully it was recorded. That he went into the seeds of karma. He wants to talk about karma. So, and then I thought, well, my class about karma is more exploratory, and there's people with some good, clean information on it. So I'll leave that there, and I look forward to see that. And yes, and so I was writing classes in several directions. What I realized. Yeah, and what I was really inspired to focus on in this class is, that intelligence coming from Krishna, remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness coming from Krishna being the source. And I'm gonna go to Prabhupada, back to Prabhupada, in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 10. And so this came up in, I think, Prabhupada's comments or kind of class there in New Mayapur. So they're reading 15:15, and then he kind of goes to 10:10. And so Bhagavad Gita 10:10, to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give understanding by which they can come to me. So this intelligence, what Krishna feeds us, it's all information about how we can be powerful, how we can be connected, how we can come to him. And there was something about, well, what about when we pray to Krishna for like material things, for support for our God project, essentially? What happens? Well, then Krishna gives and takes away accordingly so that we can find our way back to him. So it's not like we don't have the answer to, does he, what's happening individually in that person's life and relationship based on their choices in karma and like that. And Krishna reciprocates perfectly, whatever, for them individually to have the intelligence that they need, the knowledge, the forgetfulness to remember it. He's working to give that, even when someone's saying, oh, Krishna, I want more money. Krishna, I want a good wife. I want my life to be more comfortable like that. Then Krishna's how to support, how to give how to give the information and the intelligence to understand the information. I think that's what's really nice for me here is when someone's serious. So then in that case, I'm saying here's an example of someone not so serious about knowing Krishna. They're serious about I'm the supporter of I need more money. I'm talking about myself. I'm thinking, okay, I need more money for my family, like that. I think I definitely don't pray to Krishna like give me more money. And I'm definitely haven't been, based on my activities, real serious about knowing Krishna. And definitely appreciating the opportunity to give this class. Thank you, Bhakti and Valerie. Because then for the last 2-3 days on and off, when I spend time with Prabhupada and Bhagavad Gita and Krishna words, then there's a bliss, there's a happiness, I experience a sense of purpose, empowerment, peace. Yeah, definitely like peace and like calm. Like it definitely, it's like I could even feel where I'm stepping out of the stream of karma that I'm in and creating, like a transcendence. Just studying with some sincerity about I want to know about Krishna. I want to follow some instruction. I want to try to understand and learn something with some drop of sincerity. I can appreciate this experience of stepping out of this like a river, like a current of being dragged down, and sort of into a current of being dragged up, pulled up, and so there is a powerful flow towards Krishna, and it sort of seemed like if there's two rivers going different directions and I'm in a river trying to paddle upstream towards Krishna, all the upstream, all the resistance of the water, I'm creating that. I'm resisting. I'm choosing not to be connected with the source and the energy. And so it's a real struggle. And then it's actually, I need to get, out of that river and into the flow with Krishna. And then he's taking me, he wants to fully reciprocate with everything that I, if I take one step towards Krishna, he takes 100 towards me, like that. So just this opportunity to give this class is given me some taste of that. And have plenty of time, I guess. I have other inspirational places that we can go. I've been sharing my mind and what's coming up for me, hopefully consistent with Bhagavad Gita and inspired by this purport and this what Prabhupada shared in France then at Mayapur. And then I guess I got some other notes by putting into some databases about intelligence. Krishna will give the intelligence by which to come to him. So that's because that was what really was hitting me. Then I used that keyword to come up with other places where that's mentioned. And so I'll mention some of those places now. In Srimad Bhagavatam 6.9.49, the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, if someone comes to Krishna asking for material benefits, Krishna does not award him the material things he desires. This is what I was sort of talking on a moment ago. Instead, the Lord gives him intelligence so that he will forget his material desires and become attached to the Lord's lotus feet. And then in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 30, Text 26, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said, the Lord is present in everyone's heart, and he gives the living entity intelligence. According to the desires of the living entity, the Lord makes him remember or forget. If the living entity is demoniac and wants to forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord gives him the intelligence to be able to forget the Supreme Lord forever. This is pretty heavy. I'm not really sure what to do with that. And this is sort of like we have the choice, and Krishna reciprocates. He loves us, and if we want to forget him forever, apparently he can do anything. He can give him the intelligence to be able to forget. So this is scary. What are we asking for? Similarly, Prabhupada's going on. Similarly, when a devotee wants to serve the Supreme Lord, the Lord, as Paramatma, gives the devotee the intelligence to make progress in devotional service. The Lord directly witnesses our activity and experiences our desires. Experiences our desires. I'm appreciating that language. He's there with us always as Paramatma. The Supreme Lord gives us the facilities to act in the way we wish. So much freedom, so much love, so much freedom. And then I have one. This is from a lecture in Los Angeles in 1972, May 21st, 1972. Prabhupada says, so there are two things. There are two living entities. One is trying to forget God, and the other is trying to remember God. That's all. There are two kinds of people, or men. Men are not animals. Animals cannot understand what God is. It is the business of human being. So if you want to know God sincerely, seriously, then God is within yourself. He says, if you want to know God sincerely, seriously, then God is within yourself. He'll give you intelligence how you can know him. But if you want to forget God, challenge God, there is no God. God is dead. Then he'll give you such intelligence that you'll always think that there is no God, that God is dead, like that. He'll give some arguments. There are so many atheists. They are also putting their arguments. So where from the arguments come? I like that. You think this is like, I'm really, because the atheists are thinking they're God. They don't maybe say that, right? But it's like, oh no, I'm the, so I must be God. Well, no, you could challenge, but they would not admit that. This is like funny here. It's like, so there are many atheists. They are also putting their arguments. So where from the argument comes? It comes from God, and you take this argument and forget God forever. Matas Shmitir Ginam Apoham Cha Vedais Cha Saver Aham Eva Vedam. So there Prabhupada actually quotes Bhagavad Gita 15:15, which we're studying. And that was there, and so I appreciated that some full circle coming back here. If you're like me, you probably have many questions, which we'll have time to discuss here this morning. I look forward to that. I have notes that go on and on. I hope they're all feeling relevant for us. And yeah, I went back, as I often do, to review the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. So it's an introduction, and it's like a summary also. And so I feel like I'll be doing that for a long time. reviewing the introduction. Also, Prabhupada gives a very nice class. I think it's roughly 2 hours or over 2 hours on the introduction. It's a class I've just play on repeat, even if I'm not focused, and I tend to just hear something new in it, and it's always very fresh. So I really like that personally.
And that's the earliest recording of any Prabhupada class from February 1966. The earliest recording of any Prabhupada class.
Easy to find, definitely. If you go to Prabhupada Bani, you can see the transcription, you can hear the audio. I believe it's on YouTube, so it's really easy, and I encourage you all to check that out if you haven't. I had a note here that, and I already read from the introduction, page 6 and 7, and here on page 7 it continues. The sincere student should always have firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I guess vulnerably I'll want to confess some of the, as some put it, sinful thoughts of Devon, Bhakta Devon, as I read from Bhagavad Gita, and I read Krishna's words. There's like the competition within me that hears Krishna as arrogant. Like, who is this arrogant person? Now, as Bhagavad Gita goes on and Krishna shows his universal form, Devon's like, maybe a little bit with Arjuna, like kind of shaking, like, okay, you know, I've made some offenses here in thought, and as this story unfolds with Krishna and Arjuna, because I've really just completed my first linear Bhagavad Gita reading, and it was like very slow. It took over a year. I would committed to at least one text and purport a day, and you know, some are very short and like that. And so I sort of was noticing my thoughts as I'm reading through, and then they changed. And so I'm just sharing some of my personal journey there. And Krishna keeps telling Arjuna the science of how things work, both in this world and beyond. And Krishna says that knowledge comes from me. He is the knower, and he is the source. And I'm thinking still, like I've shared in this class, well, at least I'm the source of something. Like, at least I'm the source of some thought. Like, that's my thought. That's it. And it's like, well, what's behind that thought? There's some energy. That energy is provided by Krishna. More subtle, more subtle, more subtle. So, very humbling study here for me. And let's see. So an enjoyable part of the process where we go and where the instructions tell us to go is to speak about and enjoy Krishna's pastimes, forms, incarnations. This is the process and the goal. Remembering Krishna, and we have so much. There's unlimited pastimes and forms and incarnations of Krishna. So I'm mentioning that because I'm supposed to, and I haven't directly done that so much here. We're talking about Krishna and Arjuna. We're talking about the pastime of Krishna and Arjuna, specifically in Bhagavad Gita, and I tried to learn something about Vyasadeva, and it's part of the discussion that I'm open to have or hear something about, because Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Vedas, he's an incarnation of Krishna, and he's so I'm going into something else, and where that I'm going to put it out there as well. And then he has sons, I believe 3 sons, and one of them is the blind king Dhritarashtra. So Bhagavad Gita, we're studying. There's Dhritarashtra, is the blind king, and he's seeing what's happening on the battlefield, Kurukshetra, through his like a crystal ball. It's being narrated by his Sanjaya. Thank you. And right, and so he has anyway, Vasudeva has 3 sons, also Pandu and Vidura. So, yes. So isn't it that Dhritarashtra is at war with the Pandavas?
Yes.
In this case, and the father of the Pandavas is Pandu.
Yes. So
this is Krishna's. We're all Krishna's children, and these are the direct children of Vyasadeva, who's the literary incarnation of Krishna. They're fighting each other. Vyasadev's kids are fighting each other, essentially, and grandchildren.
It's a fratricidal war. Fratricidal war.
And so it's just another place my study and research somehow led me that I was getting more fascinated and intrigued with, and trying to like get a grip on here. And so everyone had what we have. They had the choice to choose sides, right? And that's what we're doing. We're choosing sides, basically, to be in alignment with Krishna, plugged in and turned on, and ultimately this is our opportunity for happiness, bliss, eternally, go back home to Godhead. Or the demonic side, essentially, is like, I'm God, I'm going to be at war with Krishna. And this is what kids do. I mean, just like my kids go from like, I love you, daddy, and then they use hate. They say, I hate you, I hate you. And it's like, I really don't, I've learned like to not take it personally. I'm not very sensitive to that. I'm just like, even the love part, I've actually come a little desensitive, because I'm like, well, they love me now, they hate me now. It's like, well, what does it all mean? The tangent, a parenting tangent. But the kids, yeah, they are teaching me so much. And so I'm dressed in this cream color. It's like a white. It's like the color of the Grihastha ashram, which is the most austere, apparently, a purification ashram, because of the austerity of and the struggle of being in the position where, oh, I think I'm the one responsible. I've got to be the provider. And so it's like it's simultaneously very difficult, and it's the perfect opportunity to see, oh, I get challenged every day to choose in like a magnifying glass of like that choice. Well, it's like at every moment I can choose easily, oh, I need to be, I'm responsible here. Or like to throw up my hands, Krishna, this is all in your control, and like following the instructions, guide me. And it's that opportunity is just very rich at every moment in Grihastha ashram. So I'm appreciating that. And maybe I'm jumping around. I think I'm jumping around too much, but we're getting to the end of my jumping around in notes. Yes. And yeah, the other metaphors, like we can choose to be in the spiritual world now, we can choose transcendence now, like we endeavored to do this morning in chanting our japa, to be fully absorbed. Krishna's fully available in his holy names, and so reverberated, resonated those names, and then like a fish in water, where we have the opportunity to be in transcend our karma and be in transcendent bliss now, and also when we're choosing something else, it's like the fish, we're like a fish out of water, we're choosing the prison house of Maya and illusion, and we're choosing to be on that wheel that is an illusion that I am suffering the pain, the suffering of birth, disease, old age, and death repeatedly on the wheel, and those are our choices, and we can pick up the instructions and follow them, or we're going to be suffering in this. We're going to be suffering the agent of Krishna Maya doing her job very well, very very well, and it's a losing battle, isn't it? Because this agent of Krishna Maya is unstoppable. So yes, so we want to choose to use our free will by choosing to plug in, by giving that choice to Krishna to love and to serve. He's the source, as it's explained in the introduction, and it's often shared in these classes, that those are the 5 basic truths: is Ishvara, the supreme controller, and Paramatma. Jivas, the controlled living entities, that's us, and we need to know that that's us. We need to know our position, and that's the start where you're at. If we don't know where we are, then we can't get to where we're going. And Prakriti, material nature, that's working under the Lord's direction. We're speaking about material nature, Prakriti, controlled by Maya, the illusion, and Kala, time, and Karma, activity, the principle of action and reaction based on our choice. That's all. I think that's just all I was going to say. Yes, that's the appreciating the verse we read. Sarvasya chaham ridi sanivisto matasmitir janam apohanam cha vedascha saveraham vidyo vedanta vedavi iva chaham. Seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. And I think that's kind of why I went to Vyasadeva incarnation, as Krishna says, I'm the compiler of Vedanta. He's again telling us there, Krishna, I'm Vyasadeva. That's Krishna's incarnation, so indicating that here. Vyasadeva compiled the Vedas for us. And then the commentaries were Vedanta Sutra. There was 3 listed. Yeah. Upanishads and things. These are the instructions. It's there. Anybody like to share thoughts, realizations, questions, challenges, comments? Welcome. So. Here, yeah. Well, someone was off mute. Helena, Ladini Shakti, hello, good morning, Hare Krishna, and you are off mute, just so you know. And then, okay, need to go, Paul. You raised your hand. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Bhakta Devon Prabhu. Thank you for this very encouraging discussion. By sharing your own personal life examples, by sharing vulnerably what you're thinking and experiencing. And this is one of my favorite words somehow. And I'm just appreciating the Krishna's understand what Krishna is trying to tell here, because anything what Krishna tells has a multiple meanings, a deeper, superficial and a deeper meaning. And Krishna's personality is both having the Aishwarya opulence aspect and a relationship aspect. So even in this verse also, I'm appreciating both of that, where Krishna is showing his opulence, how he's all pervasive with the help of his intelligence, or he's all pervasive with his intelligence. And if we really need to perceive him, it is intelligence which is required to see him everywhere. And Prabhupada says that the first way to see Krishna is to see him through intelligence. In a way that we also have this discussion when we have this, in the beginning, we teach Krishna consciousness, is to somehow make a person convinced that there is some intelligent design which is existing in the whole creation. So each and every aspect of this creation has that intelligence, and there is an intelligent person behind that. At the same time, for our devotees, it takes a more deeper understanding that how we can also perceive Krishna with the intelligence, with the guidance, with the inspiration, what we get in each and every situation of our life. So that more or less covers for me the opulence aspect of Krishna, all pervasive aspect of Krishna. The another aspect which it also covers is his very personal nature. He says, I am seated in everyone's heart. And he could also would have done same function of giving you intelligence, remembrance, and forgetfulness, being centralized at one place. But he chose rather to be each and everyone's heart and perform same function being with each and every individual soul. So that shows that how much present he is with all of us, and we just have to turn towards him to experience his presence. And in his presence, we can experience the same care, love, affection, what we always look for in somebody else. So that is what coming to me. At the same time, that also shows Krishna's caring nature, that he also is very eager. So what Srila Prabhupada tells is the one of the most important function of Krishna seated as Paramatma in our heart is that he's waiting for a time when this living entity will turn towards me. So the moment we shows any inclination that we are turning towards him, we have some desire to go back to him, immediately he will connect us to the spiritual master. So like at a multi-dimensional understanding of this understanding that how Krishna is seated in our heart primarily for taking us back to him, and is creating that is also like protective energy of Krishna. He's always protecting a soul in a sense that no even a scratch has not come to soul till now. Is unharmed from any material conditions. Originally we are in same pure entity as we were when we fall to this material world. That is again Krishna is protecting us from any kind of influence at the core from this material world. So it shows Krishna's caring nature, Krishna's protection, and Krishna's maintenance for that matter, because all the ideas are the root for any development in this world. And third canto says that intelligence is a mode of passion which inspires you to do something in this material world, which inspires you to create something in this material world. So to be able to maintain us, we create some of our own assets around us, also coming from Krishna. That guidance, that intelligence, that ideas are coming from Krishna. You can see all Krishna's nature, that caring nature, eagerness, loving nature, affection nature, protection nature, maintenance nature, is all we can understand from Krishna's presence in our heart. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. Thank you, Niti Gopal, Das Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Appreciate your words spoken through your realization and your appreciation of this, a special appreciation of this text. Yes, and I very much appreciated what you added, Krishna, maintaining, protecting, putting in the seeds of inspiration. It's, looking at both his opulence and the relationship. Yes, right.
Srila Prabhupada sometimes refer refer to this verse, and there's several places in there's several places in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says he's in the heart of all living entities, and this is one oft quoted from Prabhupada, Sarvasya Chaham Ridi Sanivisto. And Prabhupada used that just following up on Nityagopal's point. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, I'm the best friend of all living entities. Prabhupada will illustrate it with this verse, that just like, what a friend. He's never abandoning us. He's sitting right next to us at the core of our heart. And as foolishly as we may act, not just like foolish, in terms of self-sabotaging for ourselves, but as neglectfully and as much as we reject Krishna, even to the point, he doesn't even exist or whatever, Krishna is always lovingly right next to us in the core of our heart. So Prabhupada will emphasize that point. This is, what a friend. Like, he'll never abandon us as mean and vicious and disrespectful and vulgar we might be to him. And as much as, he's giving us good guidance. So he's always there giving us good guidance, which material life means we're, for the most part, disregarding it. But then you emphasize, that you go emphasize that he's just looking for just a little spark. Yeah, let me turn towards Krishna. And he's ready to support that a million times. And so this is, we can understand Krishna is our best friend in relation to this verse, to this principle. Also, I'm looking at Tasmi Tirginam Poanam Cha. Certainly, one reason why this is one of my favorite verses. Krishna says, "From him comes forgetfulness." So, those times where kind of, dear Govinda, why are you forgetting this? Why are you forgetting that? Why are you so spaced out? You kind of messed up on that. You just didn't remember this and that.
Krishna.
It's Krishna. So this is a great verse to refer to. Comes in handy. Just want to put that out there. Okay. And I really like your point, Bhakta Devon. Because it can be, at least theoretically, you can get, actually, it's not my car or my house. It's all Krishna's, the external things. We might not have realization, but we can sort of get, this is all Krishna's energy, like that. But then I'm reminded of the French philosopher Descartes, who went through a process, and he understood. I think, therefore I am. He understood I'm not the body. At the same time, in his process, he wasn't able to differentiate himself from the subtle body, from the mind and the intelligence. So that's more difficult. Like, this is Krishna's car, house, money. Yeah, let me try to use it for Krishna. But then it's my intelligence and my mind and my great ideas. Of course, it's Krishna's forgetfulness. Okay. So I appreciated that you emphasized that point. Even our intelligence, it's Krishna. At the same time, it's not like, it's like Krishna's reciprocating with our desire. And then you gave the tugboat and the big ship analogy. I use a lot. I get it from Prabhupada, of course. And I like how you used it in such a direct way, because often I'll use it like in seminars or coach training, and I'll just talk about, we're actually the big ship. We're the big powerful ship. The tugboat represents the three modes of material nature. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aparayam Yam, he says, okay, there's the 8 material elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. Then there's a superior energy. So we're superior. We're superior to the material energy. And then I'll say, so when the ship has its engines off, the tugboat can drag it around the ocean. with our engines on. And I'll talk about the engines on, the one in front of the zero, self-realization. And I like how you gave where Prabhupada goes with it, like engines on means we're alive and aware of our devotional connection with Krishna. So we made it very palpable, direct, nothing vague. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you for all that, dear Govinda. Yeah, you're appreciating my direct use of the analogy, and I like to think of it as like dry and simplistic versus like the yeah. And yeah, also I mentioned I wanted to say I mentioned there was 3 classes I was writing.
Yeah.
One in the direction of like karma, and then I was like, let me listen. Let me find Ganasham's nice class on karma.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I was like, another direction. I didn't mention the other direction. Another direction. Well, I mentioned devotees suffering, and I was speaking to devotees. Came up. There was 3 reasons devotees suffer to be an example of how to respond to our karma and like that. It was very interesting. And if anybody wants a class idea, please give us a class on this. Right? It's like I'm interested. And so that was another class I said. And then another one was like kind of interesting. It was like how to give a class and what that means to take on the anxieties for Krishna. The responsibility like that. And so I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. Like, what does it mean to give a class? Because I was in that process, So I was like, oh, that's a class. So it was kind of funny. And within all of that and these analogies, there's also the what comes up for sure is like the tugboat and the little tugboat and the big ship, there's the fan being plugged into the wall. Okay, stick your hand in it, the motor's on. It's gonna chop you up, and then unplug the fan, and we're still in this world.
Yeah.
And so our hands in the fan, but now it's unplugged. So we're still gonna have the lingering momentum, in energy of our karma, and yet we've unplugged from the I'm at the center essentially. That means plugged in, and unplugged means Krishna's at the center now, in my consciousness, in my choices, in my life. So as you were sharing, and I was inspired also to share that. And where you went, I had to take notes because you can't even really reflect what you were saying. So I'll have to go back and reflect on what you added there in quotes and like look those up that you were quoting from Bhagavad Gita, and you were going to where you connected where Prabhupada goes relative to these topics.
Yeah, Krishna is our best friend. He's with us in the core of our heart. This is one of the verses that it says.
With knowledge, jnanam. Jnanam is there in what you shared in another text. I think the same word is there. Something you shared. It's in this text, jnanam, knowledge, real knowledge of our relationship with Krishna. Anybody else like to share? Damayanti. That good? Good.
I really like thinking about how Krishna is my source, or the source. I like to hear class and also in all of my lecture. You were really having a good time. These thoughts on you. So that Krishna is with these thoughts. That's sort of fascinating. I'd like to think about which messages are from Krishna, which ones are materially deficient thoughts. And even those aren't mine, because I'm pure soul, and those are just different subtle bodies. So I'm just sort of thinking those are
It's hard to hear Damayanti speaking.
Okay.
You could
Closer.
come.
And also, Devon, you can mute Ladini Shakti yourself
All right.
because she's unmuted
Thank you.
and it's also affecting the audio quality.
Thank you. For, yes, thank you. Okay, and she's back. Jai. Okay, so Damayanti will come a little closer, maybe speak a little louder,
Okay.
because we all want to hear you.
Okay. What did I say? Let me try to remember.
Yeah.
Thoughts,
Yeah.
distinctions.
Yeah, appreciating the distinctions. What are my material, material
was-
conditioned thoughts, and what are?
I was liking the this. I like looking at the sort what is my source and what is the source of everything, and I liked Devon's like contemplation about what are like these thoughts, like even our thoughts. What are the source of our thoughts, and then that led me to think, well, there's a distinction of what's going on in the mind because there's Krishna's message, which is more like the intelligence and the intuition from Krishna given to the soul. But then there's the thoughts that are like the conditioned thoughts that are kind of covering, and they're not really even me. They're just the conditioning of the mind and the intelligence of the false ego attached to me for now. And so I was just thinking about the distinctions of what goes on inside. Because Krishna's in there giving intuition, intelligence, and guidance. And also, Srila Prabhupada's lecture where he said, where do the atheist arguments come from?
Mm-hmm.
They also come from God. And I just think it was starting to become fascinating to think that Krishna's providing even contradictory thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he's the source of everything. I know that there's distinctions though that we can sort out because of Srila Prabhupada and the teachings of the Vedas will teach us how to sort out those voices, the voices in the mind of the voice of the atheist and the voice of the devotee, and what their sources are, and how like Maya is playing a role. And I don't know. I just think it's sort of fascinating, you know, the whole, I don't know, just the idea that Krishna's the source of contradictory thoughts to devotional service.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating to think how, yeah, it's fascinating to think how Krishna is the source of even contradictory thoughts, even the thoughts of the atheists that are like against him. And I'm going to the where Prabhupada said even the infant, like the puppy.
The puppy.
Yeah, it has this, and like science is fascinated with these instincts. I'm kind of, I think it's related, and I'm kind of going somewhere else because you also spoke about what Prabhupada shares about the atheists, and then he also gives this example that the newborn, we think like kind of knows nothing, but then like science has been fascinated, like, but it has this instinct to go for the nipple, like even blind, you know, they're born like blind, it's so bright, you know, and they find the nipple, and it's like, oh, you know, we try to find the we want to know science wants to know the source of that instinct, and then it's very simple. Krishna is the source of this instinct. He's giving that intelligence, that instinct, that intuition, that all of the subtle elements. He's giving them with love for us because that infant, that puppy, it needs sustenance and milk, and like with no knowledge, it's like in competition with its other pups and everything. Without that instinct, it wouldn't survive. And so even for the atheists to survive, they need something to chew on. You know, science needs something to chew on. So Krishna is providing all of that cud, you know, and thorns, right? He's like, even animals that enjoy the taste of their own blood, Krishna, the camel, or like, it's like Krishna, like the camel goes and eats the thorns, and it has the ability to eat thorns, and it will also enjoy the taste of its blood. And it just is like, why is that? Because there's some desire for that. The Krishna is actually controlled by our desires to give us what we desire. And even in like that gross example with the camel, and yet as we come to the human form of life, and it transitions because we have the because we have the ability to ask the questions, and we have the ability to who am I? Who am I? What is my relationship? Who is God? And with the intelligence, the consciousness covered in other forms of life. Ladini's here. I better not talk too much about like other forms of life. We have very intelligent forms of life that some of us are in communication with, like horses, and so I don't know if we want to go there like that, but we are talking about the abilities of the special abilities of the human form of life. This is the platform for going back home, back to Godhead, is the human form.
Yeah, and then through like analyzing the chemistry without the one in front of the zeros, the material science will be limited in what they can understand about why the puppy knows exactly where to go. Through the chemistry and the biology, it's going to be limited because there's that transcendental element, that Krishna factor related to the distinctions. There's a text in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Mat chitta sarva durgani mat prasada tarishyasi atachat famahankara shoshasi vinakshasi. So Krishna's talking to Arjuna kind of in the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna says, he said, yeah, so Krishna, there's different voices inside. So there's the false ego, material mind, material ego. And there's the super soul. It's like this one. And there's the super soul. Krishna says, like, yeah, so it all comes from Krishna. But so like Krishna as super soul is going to reciprocate with us through his material energies or spiritual energies, depending on our desire. Krishna says if you listen to the false ego, the material energy, you can just like drown and go under in the material muck. And if you listen to the super soul, you'll easily cross beyond the miseries of material nature, return to your original nature. From Prabhu. So you have your hand up.
Hare Krishna, thank you for class, and thank you, Valerie, for getting Devon to lead class. And I heard of someone's talking. It was a celebrity, no big deal, but anyway, he was saying how he was agnostic, but the kind of agnosticism that he was talking about, he was putting it sort of even like above atheism. Like atheism is, there's the theists that believe there is God, and then there is a God, let's say, and then there's the atheists that say there is no God. And so he was putting himself as an agnostic above that. Like he's saying that there is no way to know if there is a God or not, and so therefore, like, that's the highest platform, like, to, and like, and I was thinking, like, when I was hearing it, I was like, well, that's not fair. Like, basically, there's no way to convince a person like that. He's just putting himself above, like, not even making a sense. Like, there is a God, there's not a God. He's just, well, there's no way to know. There's no way for anybody to know. So there's no reason to even talk about it or think about it, or like, whenever I was like, that was my response to whenever I was hearing him. Like, well, that's kind of like I was like, that's not fair. But then hearing this conversation, I'm just thinking of, like, well, isn't that an interesting relationship that he has with Krishna? that Krishna's giving him those thoughts, and that like, and like Krishna earlier, I think Devon said or quoted that Krishna, or Prabhupada saying that Krishna can give someone the ability to forget him forever. And so, like, well, here's what an interesting way for this person, his relationship with Krishna, that he has this stance where he's like, well, there's no way to even know, and no one can know, and he's just kind of puffed up with that perspective. So I like that it gives some lightheartedness to the seeing the world, and like people's stances atheist or theism or agnostic or whatever it may be. Scientists, what people scientists may say about. I just heard another scientist say there was two scientists talking, and one of them asked, what's the, what do you think? What's something about religion? And they gave this. He's like, oh, well, religion's an early attempt to understand, the questions that we now better answer through science. I think that's like a common, perspective. And
Sure.
so it's like I was feeling, but from this class, from the perspective of this class, it's just like, oh, isn't that interesting how Krishna's reciprocating with that spirit soul that he thinks like that, So it's a a lighthearted perspective.
Krishna is also supplying those arguments, for the atheists. It's fascinating. Yeah. I've heard that too with the science. Oh, religion was trying to explain something we know better now through science. I've heard that too.
I appreciate Parampara used the word puffed up because it could appear like a humble position. I'm just saying I don't know. It appears a very humble position. At the same time, the way you describe it, what this person is saying, he's saying conclusively, absolutely, no one amongst the billions of people now or the billions of people in history, knowing in the future, has any possibility of knowing about the existence of God with any surety. I'm saying with complete surety, humbly, of course. But all whether in this tradition, Christian tradition,
I know
Buddhist
that no one
tradition,
can know.
Vaishnava tradition, no one knows. If they think they know, they're all an illusion. The one thing you need to know is that I'm absolutely right about that. Humbly. Hare Krishna.
That's fun.
Thinking how Krishna is the source of my arguments. People I argue with. I only really argue with one person.
Who could that be?
I guess my kids too, but okay. Krishna is the source of all my arguments against my three family members, and hey, that's sad. Anyway, that's all.
Krishna is the source of those arguments, and those arguments, depending on our sincerity to know Krishna, are going to take us back to Krishna. Yeah.
Sometimes in the middle of an argument, I'll make a joke about the I don't feel like I feel like that joke was a grace or mercy from someone else. But like I was angry, and now I'm just like.
Is this the Prabhu you argue with? This is the Prabhu you argue with.
Change the topic.
Class
We'll
isn't over.
Keep this confidential.
We're keeping it open now. Oh, right. Anybody else like to share here at the Forest Sanctuary or online? I'm appreciating so much of what everyone's shared and added, and the thought that's gone into where I'm focused, where I've been contemplating and appreciating and being. This is this source of my humility at the moment is going to the more subtle realm where I think that I'm important, original, something like that, that I'm at the center, and then more and more exploring about Krishna giving intelligence, forgetfulness, remembrance, and knowledge. Krishna giving everything, specifically focused on these things is fascinating. I'm glad that there's others that are experiencing that. Good morning, Guru Das. Hare Krishna. What should we do now?
Bhagavad Gita ki.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Well, Krishna Vidaya Krishna Vidaya. Shri Swami.
Sorry about the fruit.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.